Good to be here. I'm from Livingston Parish. This room is too pretty. There's way more teeth than I'm used to seeing. I'm on edge. I'm from a little town. I'll tell you a little bit about me. Besides being handsome, I'm also from a little town right outside of Baton Rouge. You might have heard of it. If you haven't, you can Google it after the show. It's called Denham Springs, Louisiana. Spelled just like it sounds, D-E-N-K-K-K-H-A-M Springs. Boom! I did that joke in Denham one time, and a guy yelled at me from the back of the bar with his entire heart. That's not how you spell it! But he yelled that through a pillowcase on his head, so... I'm moving slow today. Are there any Catholics in the house? We got any Catholics in here? Did you feel every butthole in here get tight as soon as I asked? Don't worry, I'm not going to snitch on you. I'm not a real Catholic either. I just found out that every Friday during Lent, you can just go to churches and they have the best fish plates imaginable. Did you know that? You go to a church on a Friday. They told you can't eat meat on a Friday, and then they sell you fish plates. And it's the best fish I've ever had. I don't know if it's battered in Bible pages and fried in holy water. Before you tell me you can't fry something in water, I will remind you, heathens, that through Christ all things are possible. I ate like $80 worth of church fish today. It comes in a little basket. You just put the trash in and it floats right back to Jesus' house. I'm a stay-at-home father. I have two very small children. When my wife told me she was pregnant, I had to get a real job. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I went and worked at it's an artesian grocery store. You probably haven't heard of it, called Target. Exactly. And I had the kind of job, if I was 17, you guys would be like, oh, hell yeah, he's doing what he's doing. Anybody saw me, would be like, look at him out there hustling, trying to make some money. Good on him, smart kid. If you're 25 and doing that job, people are like, uh-oh. Should pay more attention, huh? I was 35. And you know what happened? At that age, it just flips all the way over, and everyone you work with assumes you've overcome some great mental obstacle to be there. Everybody would stand up and applaud just because I remembered to bring my lunch. They'd be, look at him! Go, way to go, champ! He brought his lunch. Look, his shoes are the same color. I think he drove himself here. I honestly do. I didn't say, go for you, champ! And I'll be honest with you, it made the $8.50 an hour almost worth it. It was great to just get hyped up every morning. Are you kidding me? It's awesome. But I had the kind of job where you came into a Target at 2 o'clock in the morning and you stock cheese into a little cooler. So I don't want to upset anybody here, but I was a big fan of the THC. I believe they call it marijuana. And because if you're going to go work at Target at 2 a.m., you have to be high. That's just common sense. Everybody knows that. And my boss was a 19-year-old man named Mr. Blaine. Yeah, you heard me. I said Mr. Blaine. That's right. I have a bullet in my leg for this country, from a country I can barely spell. And I have to call this guy Mr. Blaine. He can't even get his truck level, and I have to call him Mr. Blaine. I told Mr. Blaine one day, he said, I need you to stock the dairy cooler. And I looked this man right in his dumb face and I said, I can't work in front of customers. And he paused for a minute and he looked at my file and it does say disabled veteran on there, and he goes, oh, is it because of PTSD? No, it was because I don't want anybody that I know to know that I work at Target. But now that you've mentioned it, it sure is. I said, yeah, it's the PTSD. And he said, aren't you a comedian? And I stared at him and said, I'm not good. How about that? I appreciate it if you didn't bring it up. So I had to stock cheese in a cooler. And I don't know if it was my rage against having a 19-year-old boss named Mr. Blaine or hate in my heart, but I'll be honest with you, if you're high and you're stocking cheese at 2 a.m. in the morning, you're going to eat cheese. I ate so much cheese. I'll be honest, if it was a country, if I couldn't guess the country by the picture of the flag, I'm gonna eat it. If I looked at the price and realized I could never afford this cheese, I'm gonna eat it. If I don't even know what the package says, I'm putting it in my cargo pockets and taking it home. We'll figure this mystery out at home. And one day, Mr. Blaine came into the cooler and he said, Josh, I need to see you in my office. And I said, okay. And I followed him to his office. And when I walked into his office, the loss prevention manager, Ross, was standing behind the only chair that was available, like this. Now, I don't know if Lafayette is familiar with what loss prevention is, but they wear polo shirts and watch people steal shit. They can't do a goddamn thing. I worked loss prevention at Best Buy, and I had 7 videos on YouTube of me using a taser correctly, and they wouldn't let me bring it, so. Mr. Blaine said, why don't you have a seat? And I looked at Ross, and he was right here, so I sat down, and I slammed my mohawk head into Ross's nuts because he wasn't moving back. This is intimidation. I know what's going on. I've seen Law and Order. I know what's happening here. And Mr. Blaine says, is there anything you want to tell me? There is so much I want to say to you. I don't even know where to start. There's so much I want to say to you. Man. But what I know is to say, So I said, no. And then he said, are you sure? Now, we got any cops in here? That's right. I'm gonna let you in on one of their secrets. If they say, are you sure, they got evidence. For sure. And Mr. Blaine turned his computer monitor around and pressed play on a 12-minute video of me eating cheese in the cooler. Because it turns out Target has cheese cameras. They have goddamn cheese cameras in the corner of every corner of that cooler, and I didn't know it. And I'm in there at 3:30 every morning like a rat, eating it up. And now it's time to pay the piper. And I eat cheese I know I can't afford, so this is bad. And Mr. Blaine looked at me and said, there's 2 ways this can go. First off, that's a 19-year-old talking. There's 4,000 ways this can go. I'll tell you that right now, I promise. He said, you can either pay for the cheese, never gonna happen. That's never, I specifically ate cheeses I'll never be able to afford. Just move on from that idea. And he said, or I could fire you. Whoa, here's option 3, Mr. Blaine. And here's what happened in my head. I'm not gonna get fired at Target for cheese larceny, are you kidding me? No way. So my plan is to slam my muscular forearms down on the desk, push my beautiful body up into his face and say, you can't fire me, because fuck you, right? That'll hurt him for weeks afterwards. He'll go to his car, just don't like his car, but God damn, that was mean, huh? I was ready, but what happened was unforeseen. Mr. Blaine's desk had a lip right here underneath it. So when I brought my beautiful mohawked meat castle body up out of it, I also brought the table over onto my face, which launched me back into Ross. Remember him, loss prevention? The computer, all of his papers went everywhere. I tried to drag Ross onto the ground with me. He stood sturdy like a, oh, good for him. I hit the ground, table on top of me, computers everywhere. The only thing I know how to do is to play dead. I don't know. There's no other, what else do you do? I'm gonna get up and walk out of here after, no fucking way. I laid there, I was dead. You're gonna have to get a paramedic to come carry me out of this place. And they did. They called an ambulance. And the guy came in and strapped me onto a stretcher and then rolled me out of the front door on a stretcher of the store I was too embarrassed to work in the dairy section of, because I didn't want people to know I worked there. And now, like, this man is a cheese larcenist and now he's starving to death. He ain't too many, we gotta take him to the hospital. He's rolling me out to his ambulance and he says, look, I don't want to make this weird, but I know there's nothing wrong with you. And I said, look, buddy, I've got so much cheese in my pocket right now. If you just get me in that ambulance, we can have a feast. And that man took me up on that. And we ate cheese in an ambulance for 20 minutes. The only problem was, my car is still parked in front of Target. So I have to walk back to my car, and I'm walking across the parking lot, and all my coworkers who were sure I was dead 30 seconds ago see me risen from the grave and driving myself home. Everybody in the store stopped and just walked outside clapping. Look at him! He survived! And then I had to go home and tell my 9-month pregnant wife that I got fired from Target for cheese larceny, and I'm going to stick with this comedy thing. Lady, you've been